The forest was screaming, not with sound, but with a weight that pressed against Officer Elena Harper's chest, a primal warning woven into the fog that clung to Rockwell National Forest like a shroud. The towering pines loomed as silent judges, their branches clawing at the dawn sky, and the air carried a metallic tang that didn't belong. Elena's boots sank into the damp earth as she scanned the clearing, her pulse a steady drumbeat in her ears. Beside her, Coda, her 6-year-old German shepherd, stood rigid, his black and tan coat bristling, eyes locked on a patch of ground 30 yards away. His low growl VY brat through the leash, a sound Elena had never heard in their 4 years together. "Easy, boy," she whispered, but her voice lacked con VY tie-in. Coda wasn't reacting to a training scent. This was something else, something real. "Harper, keep that dog on task." Sergeant Victor Malone's voice cut through the mist, sharp with impatience. He stood near a cluster of canine handlers, his clipboard a shield against the morning chill. "We're on a schedule. 6 scent pads, buried at varying depths. Let's move." Elena nodded, but her eyes stayed on Coda. The other teams were already fanning out, dogs sniffing methodically, handlers jotting notes. This was supposed to be a routine exercise, a test of precision for the county's elite cadaver dog unit. But Coda's BHVY was anything but routine. His nose twitched, sampling the air, and then, without warning, he lunged forward, nearly yanking the leash from Elena's grip. He wasn't quartering the assigned grid. He was bolting straight for that patch of earth, a tangle of roots and fallen leaves that seemed unremarkable to human eyes. "Coda, heel," Elena commanded, her voice firm but laced with unease. He ignored her, a first in their partnership. His powerful frame surged through brambles, tail rigid, ears pinned forward. Elena's heart kicked up a gear as she followed, her boots slipping on the slick forest floor. Behind her, she heard Malone's boots crunching, his muttered curses growing louder. "Harper, control your damn dog," he barked, catching up as Coda reached the clearing. The shepherd skidded to a stop, circling a spot no larger than a dinner plate. His whines were high-pitched, desperate, and then he did the unthinkable. He began to dig, claws tearing at the earth with a frenzy that sent dirt flying. Elena froze, her breath catching. Coda was trained to sit and indicate, never to dig. This wasn't protocol. This was instinct, raw and undeniable. She dropped to one knee beside him, her hand hovering over his trembling flank. "What is it, boy?" she murmured, her eyes scanning the ground. The soil looked undisturbed, but the roots were oddly aligned, as if someone had carefully rearranged them. Malone loomed over her, his face a mask of irritation. "This is a training ground, Harper. Your dog's disrupting the exercise. Get him back on track, or I'll write you up." Elena's jaw tightened. She glanced at Coda, who was now pawing at the same spot, his whines escalating into sharp barks. "Sergeant, he's alerting," she said, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "This isn't a training response. He's found something." Malone's eyes narrowed, but 25 years of canine experience made him pause. He studied Coda's frantic circling, the way the dog's body VY brat with certainty. "That's not possible," he said, but his tone wavered. "The scent pads are nowhere near here." "Then why is he acting like this?" Elena challenged, standing to meet his gaze. "He's never wrong, sir." "Not once." Malone hesitated, then keyed his radio. "All teams, hold position. Harper's dog is alerting off-grid. Stand by." He turned to a nearby trainee, a lanky kid named Jensen. "Give me a shovel." "Now." The trainee sprinted off, and Elena began marking the spot with small flags, her hands moving on autopilot. Coda continued circling, his barks softening into a low, mournful keen. The other handlers drifted closer, their dogs sitting obediently, but watching Coda with curious intensity. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the fog muffling all sound except the rhythmic scrape of Coda's paws. Jensen returned with 2 shovels, and Elena took one, her gloved hands gripping the handle tightly. She and Malone began digging, careful to preserve the scene. 6 inches down, Elena noticed something odd. The soil was looser than it should be, the roots severed cleanly, not grown naturally around obstacles. "Someone's been here," she said quietly, exchanging a glance with Malone. His skepticism was fading, replaced by a grim focus. At 12 inches, Elena's shovel hit something soft, a dull thud that sent a shiver racing up her spine. "Hold up," she said, her voice barely audible. She dropped to her knees, brushing away soil with her hands. The other officers fell silent, their faces tight with anticipation. Coda sat at the edge of the hole, his eyes locked on the spot, his panting the only sound in the clearing. Elena's gloved fingers uncovered a patch of pale, waxy skin human hand, partially decomposed, fingers curled as if reaching for the surface. A collective gasp rippled through the group. One officer turned away, retching softly. Malone's face drained of color, but his voice remained steady as he keyed his radio. "This is Sergeant Malone, Northeast Training Grounds. We have confirmed human remains. I need a detective, forensics, and the county coroner to my GPS coordinates immediately." Coda remained V.Y. gallant, his posture easing slightly as if satisfied his message had been received. Elena placed a hand on his shoulder, a silent thank you for his stubborn insistence. Within minutes, the clearing transformed into a crime scene. Yellow tape cordoned off the area, and officers began photographing and documenting every detail. Detective Nathan Caldwell arrived, his weathered face set in a grim line as he VY gated the narrow forest road in his department SUV. "What do we have?" Caldwell asked, pulling on latex gloves. "Human remains," Malone reported. "Discovered by Officer Harper's cadaver dog during a training exercise. One hand VY Seibel, about 14 inches down." Caldwell nodded, his eyes scanning the scene with practiced precision. He approached Elena, who was keeping Coda calm a few yards away. "Tell me about your dog's alert. Anything unusual?" Elena took a deep breath, recounting Coda's Beha VY, or the sudden break from protocol, the frantic digging, the vocalizing. "He's trained to indicate human remains, but this was different," she said. "It was like he couldn't stop himself. He led me straight here, ignored every command." Caldwell's gaze flicked to Coda, who was watching the excavation with unwavering focus. "Show me what else he can do." Elena adjusted Coda's lead. "Find more, Coda. Show me." Released from his sit-stay, Coda moved to the eastern edge of the clearing, nose low to the ground. He stopped abruptly, sitting to indicate a spot beneath a fallen log. Forensic technicians uncovered a cigarette, but its filter stained with what could be saliva. 6 feet beyond, Coda alerted again, leading them to a scrap of fabrica torn sleeve, blood-stained and half-buried under leaves. "Bag those separately," Caldwell instructed. "Potential DNA sources." He turned to Elena, a faint smile breaking through his stern demeanor. "Your dog's a damn bloodhound." As the forensic team continued excavating, the full scope of the discovery emerged. The body of a young male, likely in his late teens, buried in a shallow grave. The coroner estimated he'd been there 3 to 5 months, based on decomposition. No OBVY as cause of death was VY Seibel, but the unnatural angle of the neck suggested trauma. A tattered backpack lay beside him, its contents partially degraded but intact enough to yield a student ID. Lucas Bennett, age 17, Westridge High School. Caldwell set up a command post at the forest's edge, his laptop open to a missing persons database. "Male, Caucasian, 16 to 18, athletic build," he muttered, filtering the results. "Last 4 months, 100-mile radius." A match appeared. Lucas Bennett, reported missing 4 months ago. Last seen camping near Silver Creek, 15 miles east. The ID photo showed a lanky teenager with dark hair and a shy smile, wearing a green jacket that matched the one found with the body. "Silver Creek's a haul from here," Elena observed, peering over Caldwell's shoulder. "How does he end up in Rockwell?" "That's what we're going to find out," Caldwell said, his voice grim. He reached for his phone to contact Lucas's family, who had spent months clinging to hope. The investigation stretched into the night, portable lights casting eerie shadows across the forest floor. 3 additional K-9 teams arrived, each with specialized skills: tracking, EVY Denke detection, and another human remains dog to confirm Coda's findings. Elena and Coda led a team north from the grave, the shepherd moving with renewed energy. His tail flicked high, a sign of excitement, as they gated a dense thicket of pines. The terrain sloped downward, revealing a small clearing half a mile away. "Looks like a campsite," Officer Ramirez, an EVY Denke technician, noted, shining his flashlight on a crude fire pit ringed with stones. Scattered around it were beer cans, food wrappers, and a tarp partially buried under leaves. Coda focused on a cluster of cans near the fire, sitting to indicate significant EVY Denke. Technicians bagged the items, and Coda moved to the clearing's edge, where faint tire tracks marked a patch of mud shielded by overhanging branches. Caldwell arrived, his expression darkening as he surveyed the scene. "Deliberately hidden," he said. "They drove in, didn't hike. Old logging road, maybe." Coda alerted again, this time near a pile of rocks at the clearing's eastern edge. Technicians carefully removed the stones, uncovering a cracked smartphone in a plastic bag, protected from the elements. Caldwell's eyes lit up. "If we can pull data from this, we might have our break." By morning, the investigation had gained momentum. Preliminary DNA results confirmed the blood on the fabric matched Lucas Bennett's type. The phone yielded a treasure trove: text messages, photos, and GPS data from the days before Lucas vanished. The photos showed 4 teenagers at the campsite, Lucas among them, laughing around a fire, beer cans in hand. Their carefree expressions belied the tragedy that followed. "These contradict the statements his friends gave," Caldwell said, showing Elena the images. "They claimed Lucas went camping alone after they bailed. These prove all 4 were here." The medical examiner's preliminary report confirmed the cause of death: blunt force trauma to the skull, likely from a heavy, rounded object. A fractured jaw suggested a fight before the fatal blow. As Caldwell prepared to inter VYEW Lucas's friends, an unexpected witness emerged: Park Ranger Hannah Tate, a wiry veteran with a sharp memory. She heard about the discovery on her radio and recognized the coordinates. "Early June, I found 4 kids camping illegally in that clearing," Tate said, her voice steady. "They had a black SUV, lifted with mud tires. I cited them for using a closed road. They were jumpy, packing up fast. One kid, blonde, cocky, argued with me until the tallest one shut him down." Caldwell showed her yearbook photos of Lucas's friends: Ethan Cole, Tyler Reed, and Mason Grant. Tate pointed to Tyler. "That's the loudmouth." She tapped Ethan's photo. "And that's the tall one." They were in a hurry to leave. The Rangers' account placed the group at the scene around the time of Lucas's death, strengthening the case. Caldwell moved swiftly, bringing the 3 teenagers in for questioning. The inner VYEW room was stark, its gray walls amplifying the tension as Mason Grant sat across from Caldwell, flanked by his mother and a nervous attorney. At 17, Mason looked small, his freckled face pale under the fluorescent lights. "We're investigating Lucas Bennett's death," Caldwell began, his tone calm but unyielding. "His body was found in Rockwell Forest. You told police he went camping alone after you 3 canceled." "Correct." Mason nodded, his hands twisting in his lap. "Yeah, I had a family thing." Caldwell slid photos across the table, snapshots from Lucas's phone, showing all 4 boys at the campsite. These were taken the day Lucas supposedly went alone. "Care to explain?" Mason's eyes widened, his composure cracking. His mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. The attorney leaned forward, but Mason spoke before he could be stopped. "It was an accident," he choked out, tears spilling over. "We didn't mean to hurt him." Over the next hour, Mason's confession unraveled the truth. The 4 had been drinking HVYLY, their campsite a mess of empty cans and bravado. Lucas and Tyler clashed over a petty slighted joke about Tyler's ex-girlfriend that escalated into shoves and curses. Ethan tried to intervene, but the argument turned physical. Lucas, outnumbered, grabbed his backpack and started walking toward the logging road, threatening to call his dad. Tyler, drunk and enraged, shoved him. Lucas stumbled, his head striking a rock in the fire pit. Blood pooled beneath him, and he didn't move. We panicked, Mason sobbed. Tyler said we'd go to jail. We were drunk, trespassing. He said we had to hide it. They buried Lucas a half-mile from the campsite, covered the grave with debris, and fled at dawn. To cover their tracks, they drove Lucas's car to Silver Creek and left it at a trailhead, crafting a story that he'd gone camping alone. For 4 months, their lie held until Coda's nose shattered it. Caldwell leaned back, his face unreadable. You almost got away with it, Mason. If not for that dog, Lucas might still be out there. By evening, Tyler, Ethan, and Mason were charged. Tyler and Ethan with manslaughter and EVY Denke tampering. Mason with accessory and obstruction. The case was airtight, built on Coda's alerts, the phone's data, and Mason's confession. 3 days later, Elena stood with Coda at the clearing, now a memorial adorned with flowers and photos of Lucas. His parents, Claire and VYD Bennett, approached, their faces etched with grief but softened by gratitude. Claire knelt beside Coda, her hand trembling as she stroked his fur. "You brought our boy home," she whispered. "We didn't know if we'd ever find him." The VYD's voice cracked. The detective said Coda refused to give up. "Thank you, Officer Harper, for trusting him." Elena swallowed hard, her throat tight. "He's the stubborn one," she said, managing a small smile. "I just followed his lead." As the Bennetts walked away, Elena led Coda to a bluff overlooking the river valley, their usual spot to decompress. The sunset blazed across the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues. Elena sat on a flat rock, Coda settling beside her, his head resting on her knee. The weight of the past days lingered, but so did a quiet pride. Coda had worked tirelessly, defying protocol to uncover a truth no one else could see. "You knew, didn't you?" Elena murmured, scratching behind his ears. "You always do." Coda's eyes met hers, steady and knowing. Their bond, forged through years of training and trust, had been tested and proven. Elena thought of Coda's first trainer, a retired Marine who'd seen his potential when others hadn't. Too independent, he'd warned, but he'd also said, "Trust him when he breaks the rules." He's never wrong. The department was already buzzing with praise for Coda. A local paper ran a headline: "Hero Dog Solves 4-Month Mystery." Calls poured in, some from other agencies requesting Coda's help. But for now, Elena was content to sit here, watching the light fade, grateful for the dog who'd changed everything. Coda's ears perked up, his gaze shifting to the forest. Elena followed his line of sight, half expecting another alert. But there was nothing, just the whisper of the pines, carrying secrets only Coda could hear.